Labour Minister Mildred Oliphant says the necessary processes must be followed. Parliament is currently considering both written and oral submissions. For more on this, let me take you live now to Cape Town, and speaking for Cosatu is Matthew Parks. Mr. Parks, good afternoon to you and welcome. Has this announcement by the Minister taken Cosatu by surprise, or were you expecting it?
No, it hasn't taken us by surprise. Look, we're quite disappointed that on the 1st of May, the minimum wage won't be ready for implementation. We had raised concerns with the government last year at NEDLAC about how long the negotiations were taking and being drawn out. We raised concerns with Parliament early this year about how long it was taking. But look, we had engaged with Parliament last week. We were concerned that Parliament was not being given sufficient time to process the 3 bills. These are very technical and complicated bills. We as Cosatu had raised about 16 proposed amendments to the bill to further strengthen it, further protect the minimum wage and protect vulnerable workers. So we raised concern with Parliament last week that, look, we felt the process was now being rushed to meet the deadline. We had asked for Parliament to be given a few extra weeks to finish processing the bills, and we were quite pleased that Parliament had responded and agreed to our request. So it's a temporary delay of a few weeks. The proposal now is for the National Assembly to finish its work by the 26th of April. The President can then announce it on the 1st of May. And then the National Council of Provinces can be given the month of May to complete its work. And we're quite optimistic that by the beginning of June, it should come into effect.
So you'd also be prepared to say, I imagine, that maybe this was a little bit of optimistic overreach as far as the President was concerned in making that promise.
Look, I think it's good to have target dates, because if you don't have target dates, you won't move with speed. The President made this commitment in February last year when the agreements were signed. And then it was a reasonable target date. Unfortunately, the negotiations took longer than we expected at NEDLAC around the bills, and of course Parliament also took a little bit too long. But look, in the broader scheme of things, there's not a major issue. It's a few weeks we're talking about, and for us it's an important compromise, because we still have quite a few proposed amendments to the bills which we want to be incorporated, and also we want to protect the bills from any court challenges by people who are opposed to it, and that could have delayed it even longer. So this is a temporary setback of a few weeks, but in the broader scheme it will help to enrich the bill and it will help to protect the minimum wage for people seeking to oppose it.
I understand that, and I also understand it's better to err on the side of caution, but I would also suggest to you that unless this is completed with a degree of speed, it's going to cause great consternation among your constituency, where impatience is already growing.
No, exactly, and that's why we've been engaging with Parliament from last week, that they need to have daily meetings. They've been meeting daily since last week. They're meeting as we speak, and there's quite intensive and tight time frame for the National Assembly to complete its work. We're hoping they'll come back a little bit early from the parliamentary recess, basically having daily meetings, and we really want the MPs to go through all the submissions and to really exhaust the debates, so that at the end of the day we've got a very strong bill with no cracks and gaps in it, and one which will really protect the rights of workers.
Do you think that this is just a question now of getting through the process that you've outlined for us, or at some point could there be further hiccups? Many, for instance, in business are not happy with this. They believe that all of this will be too onerous and has the potential, for instance, of putting them under.
Look, I think it's important to remember that Business Unity SA, the umbrella body of organised business, participated in the NEDLAC processes. Those processes took 2.5 years. They were intense. Compromises and settlements were reached across all parties, and Business Unity SA has signed off on the bill. They represent the majority of employers and they are supporting it. So from our side, we're confident that most of organised business is on course, is a part of it. And yes, look, there will be compromises. The parliamentary process, we think, now has been given sufficient space to be comprehensive, to include all the submissions from the public, which are quite a few. And we think really that we're still having further engagements at Parliament, but we're confident that on most issues we will find each other around this important achievement.
All very well as far as your particular federation is concerned, but if you look at the South African Federation of Trade Unions, also NUMSA, for instance, you will be well aware of this. They're saying the proposed figure of around 3,500 Rand is simply an insult. You're still, for the record, happy with that amount, are you?
Look, nobody's in love with 20 Rand an hour, but it's a minimum wage. It's not a living wage. It's too little, yes, but we need to get it. It's a foot in the door, and it builds a platform for us to then launch the next phase of the struggle towards a living wage. But I think it's also important to state for the record that SAFTU did not apply to join NEDLAC, did not participate in the NEDLAC engagements. The door was never closed to them. They only submitted the application to join NEDLAC last week, and even then it was an incomplete application. During the Department of Labour's public consultation processes and Parliament's public hearings, SAFTU did not submit a single submission on this issue. They simply forgot or didn't bother to participate. NUMSA made a submission to the Department of Labour and to Parliament, but with wildly unrealistic demands, and simply stuff which is sucked out of some utopia which cannot be achieved given the context of the South African economy with 36% unemployment, 1% economic growth.
All right, that's your view. That's your view as far as these two organizations are concerned. But what it says to me is that there is little unanimity within organized labor itself about this, and because of that, this could end up being a train smash.
No, not really. Look, the majority of organized labor has been part of the process. That's Cosatu, that's FEDUSA, and that's NACTU. Combined together, we represent 2/3 of organized labor. And for us, we're happy. We can't simply delay a train because some people didn't bother to buy tickets or didn't bother to find out when is the train moving. Workers have been struggling for minimum wage for decades. It has been a target since the Freedom Charter 60 years ago. We're on the cusp of achieving a huge victory for workers. And it's really important to remember that 46% of workers earn currently below 20 Rand an hour. So for that 6 million workers, this will be an increase in the daily wages. And that's a huge victory for them.
All right, Matthew Parks, thank you very much indeed. Live to Newsday.